stand against the issue of women having equal right with men in the home. And women must be submissive. It never used to happen like that. The only reason why we have a feminist, we have a woman activist, is because they have acquired education.
So would you rather they just stayed at home, weren't educated?
That's the role of a woman. They have to be home. They have to take care of the house, the home, the house activities. That's it. That's tradition. That's our culture. Why is that you adapt the other culture?
Okay, so quick question. I'm a woman here who's doing this job of asking questions and moderating. I would say I'm independent. Does that bother you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
India is home to the largest number of child brides anywhere in the world. And the women can end up paying a hefty price for this premature loss of their childhood. A girl who's allowed to finish her high school education is likely to marry at least 5 years later than a girl who didn't.
Men hate feminists the same way the slave owners hated abolitionists. Yes, I said the quiet part out loud. These men hate feminists because feminists, the same as the abolitionists of old, are fighting for the rights of people who give free labor to men, the same way the slaves gave free labor to their owners. These men obviously do not want women to have rights on equal par as them. Because if these women have rights on equal par as them, if these women become enlightened, if these women stop settling for less, they lose their free labor, they lose their mule, they lose their working horse, they lose their glorified slave in wife form. These men obviously don't want you to know your words. They don't want feminists going about telling the women in their lives that they can do better than them, that they can actually get value for the labor they provide. They don't want feminists going around, as my people say, spoiling their markets. These are some of the things I want you to have in mind as we go into the video. Let's get right into it.
Fellas, never date activists, feminists, or Me Too movement women. Friend zone them, be their friends, and never spend your energy trying to argue or convince them to change. I'm not here to convince anybody what movement or what things should happen with the world, at least not right now. But when it comes to choosing a long-term partner, you want to choose someone who has more traditional conservative values. You don't want a headache. You don't want a woman that's asking you a million questions a day or bossing you around like they're the man. You want someone that is feminine, that lets you lead, and has more conservative traditional values. Dating a feminist or activist will ruin your life. And also avoid any woman who has slept with more than 5 men, because that imprints into their brain and it causes a higher chance of divorce and cheating. When you meet traditional, incredible women, usually are first generation Americans or just have really strong family values, it's like your life has been changed forever. You're like, wait, there's actually women that think like
So Shadow Soldier says, you don't hear women talk about needing men? What? That's so untrue, because men are rejecting women in masses currently because of the toxic feminist. First of all, you have our permission to reject us. We don't want to date men like you either. But let's unpack this. So I get women book calls with me all the time, and they do want relationships with men. They just want healthy partnerships. They don't want codependency. They want love and companionship and partnership, not ownership or submission. Studies show that 70 to 80% of women are initiating divorce because women are finally walking away from unfair dynamics. And what is a toxic feminist mindset, may I ask? Women who want equal pay? Women who want equal rights? Women who want autonomy over their bodies? Women who want the freedom to choose their path in life? Because if a man finds that toxic, it says more about his values and his character than feminism. You sound like one of my children throwing a temper tantrum, okay? We don't want to hang out with women anymore because they want to be treated equally. Urgh. That's ridiculous. Historically, men have had social, financial, and legal control over women. So now that women have choices, suddenly you don't want to participate anymore because you can't dominate the relationship anymore, because you can't be controlling, because you can't get your way. Yeah, that's a toddler. Because a strong, confident, emotionally available man is not threatened by a strong woman. He's excited by a strong woman. He welcomes strong women. She makes his life better. She challenges him. She improves him. What you're saying is, I don't like anymore that women have standards, that they have boundaries, and that they have expectations that require me to be a better man. I don't want to have to level up like they have had to do. But that's fine, because you don't have to date women, friend. You can date other men who think like you. But all the men like you that feel rejected are the ones who are unwilling to grow, evolve, or meet a woman as your equal. So you can stay where you are, friend, while we continue to level up. You have free will.
I'm convinced so many misogynistic men are afraid of feminism because they believe that feminism is trying to switch the already existing power structure. Essentially, they're afraid of being treated by women the same way society is already treating women.
If you have men in your life who are triggered by feminism, like you have friends, acquaintances, men around you who are triggered by feminism, just ask them one day, ask them this question: why are you so triggered by feminism if it doesn't affect you? Because the only reason why a man will be triggered by women wanting rights is because that man does not want women to have rights. Because if you don't have a problem with women having rights, you don't have a problem with women wanting equity or equality, why are you so triggered by feminism? Why does the word feminism gives you an ick? It means you enjoy patriarchy, you enjoy the benefits of patriarchy, and you don't want to stop enjoying those benefits, and you want women to continue to be oppressed. That is the only reason why you are triggered by feminism. That is the only reason why you go to comment section of every post about feminism and you are crying like a baby because you feel like women want to take away the small rights that you enjoy as a man, and it's making you cry. Stop crying, baby. Stop crying.
Anti-feminism is a direct expression of your masculine insecurity. And the more I think about what feminism actually represents and things like that, the more it confuses me that there are so many people that are opposing to this idea of choice.
Just a reminder that being an outspoken feminist is not going to make men not want to be with you. It's going to make men that you don't want to be with not want to be with you. You will only lose the interest of men that you do not want to be with anyway. If you are a feminist and if you are aware of your own oppression in any way, being with a man that does not want you to speak about it will only be to your detriment. And they are, to put it simply, time wasters. There's literally no need to minimize your views or minimize your intelligence or minimize your opinions to try and appease a man who has no interest in listening to those opinions, listening to that intelligence. That man sees you as less human. If they don't believe that you are valid in speaking about your feminism, then they don't believe that you are valid. Full stop. That is a waste of time because either they acknowledge that it's happening but want you to be quiet, or they don't believe you. And if they don't believe you, they don't respect you because they think that you're lying. They think that you're hysterical, as they would say. So this lie that men try to tell you, or patriarchy tries to tell you, that if you keep being outspoken, if you speak about politics, if you speak about your own oppression, then no one will want to be with you. It's sort of like, well, the options are either I'll find someone that I actually want to be with, because there are men that want to be with outspoken feminists, for example, my beautiful angelic boyfriend, or you'll end up alone. And it's better to be alone and to focus on yourself and finding meaning in your own life than to be with a man who doesn't see that meaning in your life, who doesn't appreciate you or what you go through or how things are different between you two. You don't have to date a man that comes fully formed. There are very few men who understand to even an above competent level how patriarchy oppresses us. But what you do need is a man that isn't going to be scared of you speaking about it, that isn't going to feel threatened or get defensive when you speak about it. You deserve to feel validated in your entire life, but particularly in the way that you express yourself and your intellect and your understanding of the world. And a man is not someone who has any right to tell a woman that they actually aren't being oppressed. And the narrative itself that women are only worth anything if they are picked by a man is just reinforcing patriarchy. Do not do it to yourself. Do not become a pick-me at the expense of your own freedom and peace. Just a reminder, you'll either end up with someone who does deserve you, or you'll avoid the worst fate of being with someone who doesn't.
Obviously, they don't want feminists. They don't want you people to fight for the rights of women, because fighting for the rights of women is on equal par with them as fighting against their interests. Women being submissive is in the interest of most women. Let's be honest and frank about it. Back in the day, women did so much for men. And I'm sure that a lot of you think this whole issue of 50-50 just came up recently. No. 50-50 is not a result of feminism. On the contrary, women have always worked. Women not working and being stay-at-home mom only started after the Industrial Revolution, and it started from the West, where women now can stay at home because men were earning higher. Previously, only royal women and noble women were afforded the luxury of being stay-at-home and idle wives. The average woman back in the day worked, and after working in the fields, in the markets, in their shops, they also came back home and still worked at home too. So if you're a woman and you're thinking, feminism is the reason why I'm suffering, no, my dear. Feminism is not the reason why you're suffering. The economy changed. The same way it changed from women having to work in the fields, in the stores, because they cannot afford it, to women now being able to stay at home during the industrial era because there was more money coming in from the man. Now, the economy currently cannot afford for women to stay home. They cannot afford for a man to carry the entire weight of a family. But these men seeing this don't want to say that, okay, since the woman is sharing in my responsibility of being a provider, let me share in a so-called role of being a homemaker, of doing house chores, of child rearing. That aside, these men don't want you to be aware of certain things. They don't want you to look deep into history. This is why these men don't want you to be educated. All these things I'm saying, if you are just following social media hype, you may be misled by some of these trad wives that are marketing being stay-at-home parents to you, being stay-at-home moms to you. But if you look to history, if you are educated, you will know that these things I'm telling you are true. These men don't want you to be aware. And that is why they are very against feminism. Because feminism fights for the education of women. They fight for the empowerment of women. They fight for the enlightenment of women. And when you know things, when you are aware, when you are educated, it becomes harder to fool you. It becomes harder to control you, to subjugate you. These men do not want women to be educated the same way slave masters of old did not want their slaves to be educated. These men don't want women to be free the same way the slave masters of old did not want their slaves to be free. And I always find it even more funny when black men in particular are so much into being traditional and into the old traditional gender role thing. Because this thing is very similar to slavery and colonialism. These are things that black men, while equally being in support of the subjugation of women, as if they find it wrong for them themselves as men to be subjugated by other men. But they find every justification for women to be subjugated, be it with religion, to the Bible, the Quran, various religious texts, be it to it is quote-unquote the natural order of things. They can find any which reason to justify the subjugation of women, while also trying to say that it is wrong for them to be subjugated as men.
The most unattractive thing a girl can ever do is try to have goals and ambition in life and try to make her own money. Like, it's actually disgusting. So their mind going into relationships is just in case I get in a divorce or, things end badly with this partner, but they wouldn't end badly if you were just a good girlfriend or a good wife. If you just sat at home, you cooked, you cleaned, and you didn't have these girl nights where you want to go to the club every single weekend, your husband wouldn't have any thoughts of divorcing.
He completely gives the game away at the end when he talks about if you cook and you clean and you just do everything I need you to do, everything you're told, then I just don't see. That's it right there. Maybe she doesn't want to feel like she's somebody's property just because they married her. I don't care how disgusted he is by it. This is why some women do decide to have their own money, because they don't want to be at the mercy of some man. They don't want to have their life dependent upon if a man still likes them in 20 years. I've said it before, but I'll say it again. A man will always consider his finances. He doesn't want you to consider yours, though. Some men will tell you that they'll always love you and they'll always take care of you. But the minute they don't, or the minute they have found your replacement, all of a sudden the house is mine, the car is mine, everything in the 401k is mine, everything in the savings account is mine. I'm the one that actually went out there and worked and earned the money. No. And the wife can't even afford a good divorce attorney, so he takes her to the cleaners. Now here she is with no credit history, no rental history, no money, no savings account, no credit cards, no anything in her own name, because she's always dependent on him. Well, his life doesn't change a bit, but she has to downsize and downgrade. She'll have to accept an entry level or minimum wage position because she hasn't worked and she has no experience. I don't care how much that man tells you that he loves you right now, he'll always take care of you. When a man is not in love with you, he'll forget your mama ever had you.
Feminism nowadays is so complicated and misunderstood, not just because there are a lot of representatives of third wave feminism, which is true, but also because the goals of third wave feminism are far more focused on social equality. Before women could vote, it was pretty easy to be a feminist then, because you just say, here's a law that says I can't vote, but I should be allowed to vote, so change the law. It was very black and white, but now it's a focus on social equality. That's where the complicated conversations around subconscious bias comes in. So for example, they've done some studies where they found that women, when applying for jobs, if they are moms, they are offered less salary. Whereas if you have a man who has kids as well, he's actually offered more of a salary. And not just more than the woman, more than another man even, if he didn't have children. Women struggle in different regards than men. Subconscious bias is one of them.
Whenever women talk about patriarchy and gender-based violence, a lot of men will flock to the comments and say, actually, women treat men worse than men treat women, or actually, the problem is women are too mean to men, you're not nice enough to them, and that if women weren't so mean, men would start to care and they would actually listen to us. So therefore, all the oppression and violence that women face is actually their own fault. And often they say this purely because it's women talking about men's behaviour. And it's not even being nasty. We're just making observations that we often back up with data and actual research that they don't like. And it really reminds me of this post. Sometimes people use respect to mean treating someone like a person. And sometimes they use respect to mean treating someone like an authority. And sometimes people who are used to being treated as an authority say, if you won't respect me, I won't respect you. And they mean, if you won't treat me like an authority, I won't treat you like a person. And they think they're being fair, but they aren't. When women talk about men's behaviour in a way that men don't like, i.e. it threatens their ego or their self-image, they view it as a challenge to their authority. And because they view women as an accessory to making men look good, for example, trophy wives or men who surround themselves with models to elevate their social status, anything that does not pursue that aim needs to be shut down immediately. Why? Because it threatens the status quo and their power within it.
Feminism killed everything. Just for example, men used to open the door for a woman. The feminists said, we can open our own doors, thank you. You really think men once believed that women can't open a door? Of course, men know that a woman can open a door. A man wants to do for the woman. Not because she's helpless, but because he's the doer. He's the giver. He's the provider. The worst thing a wife can say to her husband is, never mind, I'll do it myself. Which means, I don't need you. That's emasculating.
It's kind of wild that I'm on your FYP, but you know what? I'll take the opportunity to have the conversation. Because the rising tide lifts all ships, and so if you feel this way, I don't think you and I have the same understanding of what this is. What this means for me is that men and women have the same opportunity to pursue the things that can make them happy. That means I can work on home projects and go to car shows and still feel pretty in a dress. And my partners can cry at movies, ask for help, and feel empowered in the middle of a football game. It means both partners can seek out meaningful employment and fulfilling work, and both partners feel the pressure of domestic chores. It means we can both stand strong in our feminine and our masculine and define a role for ourselves based off who we are. This doesn't just make space for women, it also makes space for men because it breaks through a lot of the societal programming and a lot of the societal pressures y'all feel too. Wouldn't y'all want a partner in that?
How do you date a feminist?
You don't. That's how you do it. I don't know about y'all boys, but I don't want to be in a relationship with a woman whose sole intent is to make me feel as irrelevant and unnecessary as possible. I don't know, but I like appreciation. You can be in that relationship. That's cool. But that's not for me. I'm all about female empowerment.
Right. All day.
I know feminism though. Right. That new feminism is all about saying how we can replace y'all because we don't need men in the world.
If we walking up to the car and I don't open your car door, what do you say?
Open the door.
You better believe it.
Yeah, no, I am with you. I think
so you make daddy a sandwich.
I think.
Is it actually man-hating, or is it just women describing the countless horrific things that men are doing to them? And if it makes men look bad, then shouldn't men be annoyed at each other for making each other look bad, rather than being annoyed at the victims who just want to stop being treated so poorly? Who said that?
Things men don't want to hear, part 5. A lot of us men don't like feminists or feminism because we feel like it's an attack on our masculinity. And that's because so much of our masculinity is rooted in the oppression of women. And because feminism seeks to liberate women from that oppression, we feel attacked. I know I didn't want to hear that.
heterosexual marriage, no childbirth, no dating, and no heterosexual relationships, that's not disrespectful to men?
Considering you're not entitled to any of those things, no, it's not disrespectful. But let's play a little game, shall we, called What's More Disrespectful? Is it more disrespectful that we don't want to date you, or that 1 in 4 women will be the victim of an attempted or completed rape? Is it disrespectful that we don't want to have children with you, or the fact that mostly men are legislating laws against our bodies, requiring us to stay pregnant, even if it's killing us? Is it more disrespectful that we don't want to marry you, or that even when both partners in a marriage work, women are significantly more responsible for the at-home unpaid labor? Is it more disrespectful that we don't want to date you, or that we've been asking you forever to evolve beyond the patriarchy that has taught you that all you need to bring to a relationship is a wallet, and you refuse to do so at all costs? See, men have been disrespecting women, ignoring our contributions, ignoring our needs, wants, and desires, making sure you keep us in our place forever. So when we finally have had enough of that disrespect and decide we're going to do something, y'all get in your feelings. Maybe just be happy that we want you to leave us alone and that we're not seeking revenge.
For a group that claims to be the logical sex and not go on emotions, they sure do build a lot of their beliefs around emotions and their own hurt feelings. These men are really saying that feminism makes them feel unneeded. Like they need women to need them in order to be in relationships with women. As if they cannot be in relationships with women who just want them. They need you to need them so that you cannot escape from them, even when they start showing you their true colors, even when they start becoming abusive. They know that if women have an option, if women do not need them instead of want them, they can leave when these men start misbehaving. But when it becomes a need, it becomes harder for women to leave relationships with men. So, of course, they hate feminism because feminism takes away women's need for men. They take away your financial need for a man. They take away the societal status that comes with being a missus. Because in most parts of the world where feminism thrives, the whole status of being a missus isn't really there as much. And then that also takes away a social need for men. So these men are actually speaking based on their emotions. They're not speaking based on facts. All their complaints of feminism comes from them saying that feminism hurts their feelings. When women and feminists are actually complaining about physical harm that comes to them from men and patriarchy, women are out here complaining about domestic violence. Women are out here complaining about abuse. They're out here complaining about femicide. They're out here complaining about things that actually bring physical and actual harm to women. Aside from the whole financial abuse, emotional abuse, and all those other soft form of abuses that men do to women, men inflict real physical harm on women in their lives. And women are complaining about this, while men are, on the other hand, complaining about women complaining about these things because it hurts their feelings. It makes them feel bad because all men are not the same. Because women are generalizing men. They care more about their feelings than about your own physical hurt and pain. Comparing physical pain and suffering to hurt feelings is just two things that should never be on par. But these men are putting it on par as if they are on equal things. When men say you should not fight one extreme with another extreme, one extreme on the part of men and patriarchy is real harm coming to women, is gender violence, domestic violence, femicide, is honor killings in some countries, while the extreme that men talk about with feminists is women saying, "Oh, I'm not going to date you," or women saying, "Oh, I don't need you." Women saying they don't need men, is it that bad? Is it such a world ending situation or world ending phenomena? I just can't wrap my head around how these men put these two things on equal par. I know I'm not going to be changing any man's point of view anytime soon. So I'm not really going to focus on that right now. I think the focus should be more on making women understand that you may not be able to change men, but you can change yourselves. you can make yourselves better. If these men say they don't want you, okay, make yourself independent. Make sure you can live without a man, because even the women that these men claim to want are not safe. The women that they claim are submissive and traditional do not get the protection and provision that they claim to offer to these women. And even when they do offer it, they can just as well turn off the tap anytime they want. Like the video if you found it interesting, and remember to subscribe to the channel to support me. You can also check out my other video on how these men who claim to want submissive and traditional women can take away this protection and provision that they offer these women at any time they feel like. Bye.